It's strange when you think about it. We constantly dissect boomers and their houses. We joke about millennials and brunch culture. Gen Z gets analyzed for every trend they touch. But there's one generation sitting quietly in the middle, making money decisions nobody really talks about. Generation X, born roughly between 1965 and 1980. They're the coworker who somehow built real savings without ever talking about it. The relative with money in the bank who still drives a car older than some interns. The friend who buys expensive concert tickets, then compares grocery coupons for 20 minutes. And here's the interesting part. Their relationship with money doesn't look like any generation before or after them, because it was shaped by one major economic betrayal. And once you see it, everything about their behavior starts to make sense. Picture this. It's 1983. You're a kid standing inside a bank with your father. He deposits his paycheck like he always does. Same employer he's had for years. Same reliable income every 2 weeks. The teller recognizes him. His savings account earns real interest. There's a pension waiting at retirement. The mortgage has a clear finish line. Life feels predictable. Work hard. Save consistently. Retire safely. Simple. Now fast forward. It's 2008. You're 35. You followed the same script. You worked hard, you saved, you trusted the system. Then suddenly, your retirement account gets crushed. Your house loses value. People with decades at one company are getting laid off. The formula you believed in wasn't broken. It was never guaranteed in the first place. And that moment changed how Gen X would think about money forever. Here's the first contradiction. Gen X is deeply worried about retirement, yet they're also some of the most disciplined savers. They fear the future, but still prepare for it relentlessly. Psychologists call this defensive pessimism. You expect problems, so you prepare early. You assume something might go wrong, so you build buffers before it does. It's mentally exhausting, but it works. And honestly, their caution didn't come from nowhere. They watched pensions disappear. They entered adulthood during recessions. Many bought homes before the crash. They saw secure jobs vanish overnight. They're not irrationally negative. They're people who learned optimism can be expensive. Now let's talk about something people think started recently, the side hustle. Long before it became trendy, Gen X was already building extra income streams: consulting, freelance work, rental property, selling online, weekend businesses. But unlike younger generations, many never planned to quit their main job. That wasn't the goal. The goal was backup. They weren't chasing freedom, they were building escape routes, because many of them remember seeing loyal employees suddenly let go with no warning. Imagine being young and watching someone who gave 20 years to a company walk out carrying a box. That image stays with you. So the lesson became, never depend on one paycheck. Not because it sounds ambitious, because it feels dangerous not to. Here's another thing that confuses marketers. Gen X can leave a job quickly, but stay loyal to brands for decades. They'll resign from a corporation with zero guilt, but they'll keep buying the same jeans, same coffee, same products they trusted years ago. Why? Because their loyalty isn't to institutions, it's to reliability. Companies promised stability and often failed. But certain products, certain places, certain people stayed consistent, and consistency becomes valuable when trust is rare. So no, they're not stuck in the past. They're attached to what proved dependable. That's different. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Gen X can be cautious with money and still spend heavily on experiences: travel, concerts, events, weekend getaways, sometimes more than younger generations in actual dollars. At first glance, that seems contradictory, but it's driven by the same mindset. They save because material security feels fragile, and they spend on experiences because memories can't be taken away. Markets crash, cars depreciate, homes lose value. But the trip you took, the concert you saw, the time you spent with people you love, that still belongs to you. In an uncertain world, experiences can feel like the safest luxury. And honestly, that's a smart way to think. Now let's talk about financial advice. Gen X often distrusts traditional advisors, while also worrying they might be missing something. They want control, but they also want certainty. So what do?
They research everything themselves. They read books, compare options, build spreadsheets, double-check assumptions. They're one of the last generations raised in a world where self-teaching felt normal. If you wanted to learn something, you studied it, and many still carry that mindset. But there's another layer. They also saw what happened when people blindly trusted experts, so they'll listen, but verify. They'll take advice, but test it first. It's not ego, it's protection. Another surprising fact, Gen X often carries large debt totals, but the type of debt matters. They may take on a mortgage or business loan, yet hate carrying credit card balances. Why? Because one feels structured, the other feels chaotic. A mortgage has rules, payments, a timeline, an endpoint. Credit card debt feels endless. Interest grows, balances linger, stress compounds. Many watched families struggle under consumer debt for years, so their lesson wasn't never borrow, it was only borrow when the path out is clear. That's why they may use leverage strategically, but avoid debt that drifts without direction. And then there's one habit younger generations often laugh at: paper records, folders, printed statements, physical copies of important documents. It seems outdated, but to Gen X, it's common sense. They trust technology most of the time. They trust paper all of the time. They remember systems failing, files disappearing, companies losing records, so they don't choose between digital or physical, they keep both. Online backup, yes. Cloud storage, sure. Fireproof safe with originals? Absolutely. That's not paranoia, that's redundancy. So what does Gen X money behavior really reveal? They're not inconsistent, they're adapted. They were raised on promises of stability, then forced to live through instability. So they became cautious savers, practical spenders, independent researchers, prepared skeptics. They plan for problems while still moving forward. They participate in the system without fully trusting it. And maybe that's the most realistic response of all. Remember that child standing in the bank in 1983? Watching adults believe hard work automatically created safety. Gen X learned that lesson. They just learned something else too. The rules can change at any time. So now they keep saving, keep preparing, keep showing up, but they never forget the game can shift overnight. If this made you think, leave a comment about money habits you notice in yourself or your family. And if you enjoy the psychology behind financial behavior, subscribe for the next video, because your money habits usually aren't random. They're shaped by the world that shaped you. And when you understand that, people start making a lot more sense.